Hi, my name is Thea Maia. My website is theamaia.com. I'm an artist and recently have discovered the extraordinarily wonderful Chameleon color tone pens. I'm starting with color BL3 Sky Blue, and I've chosen to use the brush tip, and I'm going to fuse the color for a long time. It's a pretty long color blend for this whole first cat because I want to do a very pale to a very controlled dark. Now, when I was thinking of these China cats, I was thinking of them being made of China and how the light would hit them. And so I'm going to go from a very light color to a very dark color on the outside edge. I very much recommend that you keep a piece of drawing paper underneath as your test. I definitely tested the pen to make sure that it was pale enough. I wanted to always start pale and then get darker. When using these pens, the biggest thing that drew them to me is this incredible fusion, this control of going from light to dark. The only art product that I've ever used that can do large areas of tonality like this so smoothly is watercolor, and I could never do something this detailed in watercolor. So Chameleon pens are really extraordinary for this ability and the control that you have, going from the very pale tint and being able to pull the smooth blend all the way to the outside edge. That's just magical to me. With PR4 Purple Grape, I'm starting on the second cat, and this is a longer fuse. It's a whole 20 seconds, and that enabled me to go from a very pale, almost pink to a much more medium purple. So I actually stayed very light, as you can see here, and I'm filling in the background areas that I believe would mostly be shadow. And for this particular cat, I'm thinking of where the shadows would be: under the eye, beneath the mouth of the cat, on the outside edges of the paws, areas like that. That's where I'm going to be taking this purple color. I know certain areas are going to be very dark, the tip of the tail, the end of the paws. I want those areas to look like they're in front of the other cat, so I am definitely using a much more intense and darker shading there. And it also helps the pattern really pop out. I'm really trying to get just a very fun and sort of textured look using this purple as essentially a background color. Now I'm going to the other cat with the BG4 Aquamarine, and I'm going to do again a long fuse, and I'm going to cover over all of the cat. And to me, this is one of the beauties of the colors of Chameleon pens, is how clear they are and how beautifully they layer over each other. So I'm creating a new color here with this extraordinary blend, and it gives such dimension to the cats. It's amazing. You can use really any of the colors over any of the other colors, and they create extraordinary dimensionality and glow. And again, I'm covering everything, so areas that I even previously left white, I'm now filling in with the color, and this will allow the curlicues and the flowers to really pop out. Now I'm using GR3 Grass Green, and that's what I'm going to use for this sort of curlicue vines. In some areas I fused a little bit, and in other areas I didn't fuse at all. But when I was fusing, I was using about 10 seconds because I was sort of thinking of the curlicues going above each other or below each other, so I didn't want them to all be one color. Now YL2 Summer Sun, this is such a gorgeous color, and you'll note I have switched to the bullet point because I'm just using the pure intense color for the flowers on this cat. That bullet gives you fine detail, and I wanted to get into the sharp corners of the flowers. And also, I'm not fusing it, though you can. I just chose the beautiful, beautiful intense yellow because it reminds me of daffodils, which are my mother's favorite flowers. You'll see that the petals curve, and there's certain areas that have a line and are separate, so I consider them sort of underneath the petal. So I'm leaving in with this particular fill color, the bright yellow, I'm leaving the little tiny undertips free of color for now. I'm going to come back with another color and fill those. So Y03 Warm Sunset is a color that also reminds me of the outside of a daffodil, so I decided to use it for the center here. And I also am going to use it and this bullet and to do those tips that I left uncolored, I'm coloring them in now. So it'll look like the flower, the little ends of the flowers have turned under and they're in shadow. So now with RD4 Crimson Red, I'm just going in with the centers. I wanted those to pop, and with such a dark color, I thought it would be good to go in with this red just to give it a little bit of intensity, again with the bullet point and just using the pure color. I have switched back to what I call the blue cat, and I'm using PK3 bubblegum, and this is what I've decided to use for the vines and the flowers and the inner ear and the nose of the cat. I'm using full intensity for the inner ear and the tip of the nose, there we go, because I like to have pink ears on cats. But I'm using a fairly long fuse time for the coloring, again about 15 seconds. And I'm also just jumping around because I'm thinking of the vines as kind of going in and out and around the cat. So I get this beautiful different blend of colors on the flowers. And one of the reasons I'm not very worried about being perfect, or if I run out of lines, or if I leave an area uncolor, is I'm going to go back over this whole cat with a blue. And trust me, I know this looks like a pink and purple cat, but it's going to end up being very, very blue. Here we go, the BL6 Royal Blue, and I do a very long fuse on this because I want to do a very long, smooth color blend over a large area. So I believe I used 20 seconds. And I'm again leaving the very, very center of the cat pale and getting dark towards the outside. But I am going to go over pretty much everything with the blue, especially things that are in the shadows, areas under the eye, around the mouth of the cat. Here I go with a very long blend and the smooth transition to the very dark color, something only Chameleon Pens will allow you to do. So you can see I'm just going directly over everything that I've already colored, and just trying to get as smooth a blend as I can with this blue, and getting very, very intense on the outside edge. The paws, I definitely wanted to make sure that they look like they went around in dimension, and the reason I went so dark on the very tip of that paw is I did not want it to compete with the green paw that it's over. Here are the finished colored china cats, and I hope you enjoy coloring them as much as I did. This was Thea Maia, and my website is theamaia.com, and a huge thank you to Chameleon Pens.